Yes, you're listening here on the Coolest of the Cool, the Cooley Cool Show with your host, Brent, kicking in here on this Saturday night. Yep, if you haven't done so already, be sure to like and follow us on our other social media platforms. You can follow me on my TikTok channel, The Cooley Cool Show. You also follow me on my X, things called Cooley Cool 2412. You can also follow me on Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and as always, Spreaker.com. Oh yeah, we've got a good topic of discussion for tonight. If you know anything, space is getting out of control. So we'll be starting in just a couple of seconds, just getting things kind of fine-tuned and set up. So, we rock it from coast to coast, north to south, and yes, even down in Antarctica. And if you're in Antarctica and you're hearing this, is it still cold down there? You're listening here to Cooley Cool's Hip Hop Beat. You are now being tuned in to the coolest of the Cooley Cool Show. We rock it from coast to coast, north to south, and yes, even in Antarctica. Now, without further ado, the man that exhilarates nothing but absolute coolness, your host, Brent. Thank you very much. Welcome, as always. You're listening here on the Coolest of the Cool, the Cooley Cool Show with your host, Brent, kicking here on this Saturday. So, we got a good topic of discussion for you, each and every one of you. So, has NASA lost its way? And the reason why I'm saying NASA, because they're the most leading, most notable, most known space program of them all. And for instance, the reason I say this because there's been some certain space ventures that have happened over the past 2 days or so, and they have been remarkable, and people have been saying this great genius, great ingenuity, great engineering, great rocking the science. All this and much more with more of the space program. Now, if anybody knows, and I've said this 20 times before on my show, it seems as almost every single time that space tends to fall by the wayside, no one seems either one bit interested in the space program or any dealings with space or think space is being halted. What do we typically get? We get some unforeseen thing about space and their progress about, oh, look what we're doing this in space, and apparently it becomes headline news and this mad medias, that major ones that are put out there to say, look, this is what's going on in space. This is incredible. This is amazing. And they're reading from a prompter and they're supposed to have smiles and all that stuff. Hey, this is a really great thing going on. When in reality, they should know themselves that, hey, there needs to be questions about this, and why should we care? Is there a reason why we need to care? And so, first of all, I'm going to simply just talk about what it is. Is that, if you know, the first ever commercial flight or spacewalk has commenced, where apparently some billionaires, 4 of them in a capsule, SpaceX or one of the space things, whatever they've done, has done its first soda talk spacewalk, where they open the hatch and the vacuum of space, and we're wearing these new spacesuits. And they're just kind of getting the pressurized. And, oh no, we're the furthest point that we've gone since going to the moon, and all this other shit. And they're like making a big deal. It's highlighted on the news, a lot of different social media areas, and people have already began to speculate as far as the validity to this. And I'm telling you right now, I seen the video. I looked at the video, watched it. And, it doesn't instill any confidence. If you're already a person that's already on the line of conspiracy theories, or on the line of this shit is fake, or on the lines of this don't make no sense, or on the line of, oh, this is to be great and true and accurate, it's not going to change your mind one bit. You're going to either go to the left, you're going to go to the right, and either way, you're going to go back to what you originally were believing. But I'm going to tell you, for many of those people that now are being more skeptical about certain things, because it happens in cycles and patterns and time frames. So apparently, if you don't believe in space, or, space may be the final frontier, but it may get in the Hollywood basement, that's going to fuel your minds even more. If you're one person that says, man, this is a great triumph of commercial space travel and testing out the commercial space suits, this is great. This is great, ingenuity, and watching the video, the spacesuits of them supposedly coming out and, doing a spacewalk, and they're looking like very stiff and robotic, because that's one of the main concern a lot of people says. They're looking robotic. They're looking, their hands and arms are not moving as they're supposed to be moving. I'm gonna just say this. It's a different company that made this spacesuit, not the ones that made the NASA spacesuits. But it's supposed to be at the joints where these spacesuits are able to move, and it looks somewhat robotic the way they're moving. Now, I'm going to be one to say, why in the hell would a company design a spacesuit to where its arms and its joints are moving, looking like a robotic movement? let's just delve into that. If I'm engineering a spacesuit, and this spacesuit looks like a fucking mannequin, and it looks where the movements are robotic, hands and arms, and it looks stiff, if you're making a spacesuit, why do that in that type of, certain concept? That looks so terrible and looks so stupid. Hell, even our best movies depicting of space travel and space adventures and all that space shit look a hell of a lot better and looks much more comfortable and fitting, as opposed to we're building a spacesuit mannequin to where the joints and limbs move. It doesn't serve any practicality. Doesn't serve anything, especially if you're saying that you're going to want to build and have a whole bunch of other spacesuits to note to go with this. I had to screenshot this on my phone because, like I said, the amount of crazy talk that consistently goes on with the whole entirety of everything that with this. All right, so I'm looking here and I just screenshot this, and it's like a Polaris' parents, the ones that made or designed the spacesuit. It says, building a base on the moon and a city on Mars will require thousands of space suits. The development of these suits and execution of EVA will be important steps toward a scalable design for space travel future long duration missions. Yeah, that's where we're at right now. Yeah. So they're saying it's okay to build thousands of spacesuits like that have no movement to the way the human body works, but it's supposed to be moving stiff and your fingers looking like a puppet. They just don't have the strings, and like Jim Henson's puppets, like, oh, grab the string, come on, I'll pull it back, brother. No. I try. And anytime you try to have a little faith, I'm not going to say it, I don't like to either. Try to have a little, to see the positivity and these space programs and what they plan on doing. It just always makes you remember that it is complete. This stuff has to bring you back down to low playing field, because there's always some corkscrew thrown into it. Like when they talked about, oh yeah, we're gonna go back to the moon, and all these space programs, we're going back to the moon, we're going back, and then they all apparently did it within like a whole 4-month time frame. With all these space programs, we're going back to the moon, landing their landers and rovers, whatever, onto the moon. And as they were doing so, they're like they weren't video, recording them landing on the dark side of the moon. They just not recording at all. And then America, NASA does theirs, and the goddamn lander doesn't even land upright. It's apparently lands, but it's tipped on its side, and they're like, we landed, we went back, it is what it is. Let's keep it moving and move on. It's every so couple times they'll show things about space to keep people that much interested so they don't fade away. And then they be like, okay, well, we did something to keep everybody interested so we can get the money. Get them glorious money. And then they just fall by the wayside and they don't give a shit about it anymore, because they come to reality and the realization that what they're talking is complete nonsense, complete malarkey. And the same thing with these goddamn spacesuits, and with these 4 so-called, billionaires going out into space, and then they're out in there, oh no, we've done it, and the shit looks beyond, like, just, it just makes you think, like, what in the blue balls as hell is going on. Like, people are losing interest, so they just have to just put some shit out there just to keep the people's interest in it, to get money from people. As I told you, if you listened on my podcast previously, I talked about, the one rich billionaire is like, oh, I did it, the Virgin Mobile. He was like, oh, I went there. He went into space, so-called space, traveling with a plane that took off in his little spaceship thing, and then was able to get in out, and he was all in space and floating, and this, you can do it too. And he was in space with some hoes. Yeah. Billionaire in space with some hoes, and he was like, I'm in space and traveling. It's like they're selling you on some stuff because they know shit, and people are starting to understand that you just can't just be making shit up, but they're still making shit up. Like, and can't remember if I talked about it extensively. And like I said, I'm not a person that believes the earth is flat or anything, but I can tell you there's some very strange occurrences like these. Now, if I haven't said it already on my previous podcast, I'm going to say it again on this one. When I had drove down to New Orleans, I drove down to the bayous in New Orleans. There's one major highway that takes you down into New Orleans. Once you're in Louisiana and you're into New Orleans, you're traveling down to New Orleans. I can remember as driving down into New Orleans, I could see the whole entirety of the city as we're over this hill driving down on the highway. And you could see the city of New Orleans. And then off into the horizon, like eye level, looking straight across, I can see the water. The actual water. The bay. The water. And it's eye level because the water is up. But then the city of New Orleans is like down. Because we're driving down, but I can see at eye level the water. And then I can see the city of New Orleans down and below. And that's why they say New Orleans is below sea level. And just kind of noting how Earth's terrain is, it's very different. And looking at it, it always made me wonder about certain things and how looking at something and how it may not be perceived correctly or maybe perceived. And you could take it two ways, and it can go two ways. So, if the Earth is what people say, because if you say, oh, the Earth is a globe because scientific proof is evidence, well, I'll always go to this. You as a person, and even this to those who've been to space and traveled, and since the Earth is so big, have you really ever seen the Earth with your own eyes? Meaning, have you seen Earth as a globe, as a ball, with your own true eyes? That's the only way you can confirm. That's like saying, hey, I can tell, I can go down, I can tell if Walmart's down the street, I can verify that. So when looking at it, it's like, okay, if Earth's terrain is a ball, well, if the Earth is a ball and it's huge, big, and you have the city of New Orleans, and then you have the Earth as a terrain, as everything's never a flat plane, it's just up and hillies and things like that, and you were to see this, you would wonder, if the Earth is a ball, how is the water actually staying at eyesight level from a far plane from where you're at in the perspective? And then you can see the city of New Orleans to say, yeah, it's definitely below sea level. And then you wonder, Hurricane Katrina did such a devastating effect on it because essentially it is below sea level. And then you wonder, how does it relate to the correlation of how a globe, a ball, entails that? Now, then there's another part where you could think, okay, if the Earth were to be flat, and if my eyesight is the same as looking up in the horizon where the water is eye level, but yet then I said, before, New Orleans is below sea level, then you would think, be like, well, wouldn't the water flood down or flood into it every time there's a rainstorm because it's really below sea level? And if you're not trying to stress your brain out thinking about this, but you just kind of just have a little bit common sense to it, and you're like, okay, if it's flat, and if I were to dig something under here, every so couple times there are going to be some, flooding that would occur if it's on a flat plane, and a city like New Orleans sits below sea level. And if I'm driving to New Orleans and I'm coming from an area across where I can see essentially the Gulf of Mexico, the water, and I can see New Orleans, and I'm coming down off the highway down into there, that maybe it could be a flat plane, but the same thing is that the water maybe is set upon kind of not flushing out, but every sometimes here and there will seep over or cross over because storms and things of that nature, which will cause flooding. They would have to kind of recede later out, or maybe dry out. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not the scientist on that. But it makes you kind of think a little bit. And I've seen this quite a lot in certain places. I mean, I just thought that was a very fascinating one, because if you actually think about it, and if you actually seen it, if like I said, there's a major highway that's going to New Orleans, and if you look at the horizon, you see the water at eye level, and you're like, the water's up in the almost like in the sky, and the city sits down below. You're like, what the fuck? And so, it's the curvature. It's not a curvature. It's something that's very unique. It's very weird in that sense. So I can understand where people have ways of thinking of like, wait a minute, something's not right. And this could correlate to the same thing with trying to force us on space, because if the word got out, this is, this shit, there'd be so many things that would go wrong. And many people would be like, wait a minute, because then that, I mean, a lot of things in this world have been lied to. We've been lied. Things are not as what they seem, and things would have to be rewritten. They talk constantly about aliens all the time. Like, I don't believe in aliens coming from another galaxy, another solar system, another planet, and they come here to Earth. And then in order for them to get here, they gotta have fucking lights and to travel fucking, billions light years to get here to Earth. But when they get here, they can't see through the terrain of the Earth. They got to use bright white lights to navigate. You would think that they're highly advanced to be able to not use light like that, but they do. So bullshit in my playbook. So that there's a whole bunch of things that you'd be like, wait a minute. Something's not stirring the Kool-Aid. Something's not stirring the pot. Something's not mixing. And with this whole, billionaires, 4 of them, they're in space and they're traveling. They're they're doing spacewalks. Listen, it was not too long ago, about several months ago, that they were talking about how some type of company wanted to have space railroads on the lunar surface of the moon. What in the fuck are they talking about? Railroads on the moon? Motherfucker, we have homeless people starving, and high-ass fucking food prices here on Earth, and you want to talk about putting a motherfucking railroad station on the fucking moon? What? No, and you have major news outlets that will buy into this because they figure they're going to get sales. They're going to get people watching. Like, what in the hell? Do people think that we're just that dumb to not see the shenanigans behind it? Think about it. You and I and majority of most of the people know that when you go to a magic show, a magician, greatest card tricks, people who can do amazing card tricks, great sleight of hand. And when they do these magic tricks, you're like, wow, you've already come to the conclusion, and they'll be like, okay, well, I know this isn't real with this card. It's just basically they have great sleight of hand. They're able to do something where I'm not be able to catch what they're doing because they've perfected it not perfected, but they've done it over and over and over and over so many times to where you can't really tell what's going on without them revealing the secrets or the know how to do it. And I think that's the exact same way with the way they perceive us to a lot of shit. It's not that hard for them to continue to keep fooling us about the space and all the stuff when every now and then they just continue to keep, stepping up their game. Because obviously they cannot be at the same level as people slowly understanding how they have to be several steps ahead. Have to be in order to continue the deception. You can't be like, well, we're going to be one step above. No, because doing that one step above, somebody would be like, wait a minute, I could see that. But you had to be several steps ahead in order to be able to continue the deception. But it's gotten to the point where the deception of it, people's awareness are being like, that don't make no motherfucking sense. Like we have now, okay, I put it this way. If you're a person on a dating app and you're trying to find somebody and you're trying to find a girl there, I tell you right now, on those dating apps, don't trust any of those fucking pictures with any of those fucking women on it because AI generated has screwed up everything for everybody. You don't even know that person looks like that in the motherfucking picture in real life. That's how bad shit's gotten with this whole space technology. Whole science and this whole technology and everything, to where you have AI generating pictures and that can come to life, that can move, and they can talk. They have voice things where, if you know, Verizon does it. They have it where they can auto tune, auto replicate your voice activator or some shit like that. The shit is getting to the point where it's going to be hard to figure out what is real and what's not real. And what they're hoping to bank on is that they've gotten to the point where they perfected it just like a magician, that they work so much where you can't distinguish the difference between what is fake and what is real. And what they do and what they want to do is to erase the whole part of you thinking something is fake, to where it has now been so highly developed that it is indistinguishable between the real and the unreal. So think of it as a video game, where video games, they try to make the video players, the character in the games look so real to where you would watch it and be like, oh, it still has little tiny remnants of maybe being real, but you could be like, oh, it's not real because they're still there. They want to outdo that. They want to make it to be where it's crystal clear, pretty much real. But at the same time, you can't detect anything of it not being real. And this is how they want to get you. If they can do that, they can succeed, because then they can fool you in anything. Like, the technology base is by far now just it. I think it's a good thing, but at the same time, it could be used for very, very devious things and underlining things, to where those people who are in charge of it are only doing it for the only thing, and I've said this before, for the almighty dollar bill, y'all. And that's pretty much what they're going to use it for and what they intend to use it for. It's very sad, but the same thing, it's true, because with all that stuff, all about space, all about, oh, it is, or about we've came up with equations for this, I'd put it this way, the one main problem is that mankind, human beings, are corruptible. And with that, they have, what we have is human error. Where even if we don't intend to making something go wrong, it accidentally can happen because of just an error. And that is a fault. Like, for instance, like I said before on my previous podcast, satellites in space, you're telling me we haven't had it or heard anything of satellites actually crashing and disrupting anything, or crashing into, falling down into the earth. Shit happened, but it burned up before it came out, so it all burned up. There's no trace of it. Look, we know as damn well, as far as human beings making shit, coming up with shit, nothing has gone by without having first had some type of we done fucked up, gotta go back to the drawing board, gotta figure this shit out. But as far as calls of space, we're so in tune about when we get to outer space and all this stuff. We've ironed out all the kinks to it. Bullshit. It's called you learn how to fake that shit. You learn how to fake it fucking good. But who am I to disagree? Traveled the world in the 7 seas. Everybody's looking for something. Yeah, well, that's kind of a very true statement. And the statement is one to where at this point in time, with the way the world is going, just don't know anymore, man. There's a lot of uncertainty. Just don't be fooled. Because that's what they want to do. They want to fool you so much to where you cannot distinguish what is real and what's not real. They want to get out of your head what is not real. That's out of the question. You're not even going to have a thought process. You can just be like, that's real. And so, sad. But I just wanted to talk on that a little bit. I know this episode is going to be a little bit short, but in the most part, this is very serious business, and it has to be. Oh. And then we come to another concluding episode of the Coolly Cool Show. Like I said, it came a little short. A couple of things I want to take care of, want to do, want to research. But, just had to talk about that, see if you guys knew about that, the whole space billionaires, spacesuits. I might have rambled a little bit, but at the same time, it's good information for you to be able to follow and do your own research and figure out what you think. What I'm saying, don't be fooled, because they're trying to fool you on every avid and every corner and everywhere. So, if you haven't done so already, be sure to follow and like and subscribe to me on my other social media platform. You can follow me on my YouTube channel, The Coolly Cool Show. You can also follow me on Twitter at The Coolly Cool Show. You can follow me on my Twitter, or follow me now X. Known as X is Coolly Cool 2412. You can also follow me on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and as always, Spreaker.com. So, if you haven't done so already, don't be fucking fooled by fucking mankind. Alright? It's the greatest show on earth. Alright? Because they can fool you with a sleight of hand. Hell, they can do it right in front of your face with a room full of people. So, enjoy the rest of your Saturday here, live on the Coolest the Cool, the Coolly Cool Show with your host, Brent. Take care and bye.